Power, like the wind that bends the trees but cannot be seen, exerts its influence whether we acknowledge it or not. It rules empires and friendships alike. It determines who speaks and who listens, who commands and who obeys. It does not ask for permission. It moves in silence, and by the time you notice it, it has already decided your fate. The world rarely teaches you that power is a game. Even less does it warn you that this game is always being played, even when you think you're just living. People who do not know the rules become pieces. People who do become players. And the most dangerous ones don't look like kings or emperors. They look like secretaries, advisors, artists, strangers in the room who say little and remember everything. Power wears many masks. If you're reading this in the quiet of the morning or deep into the night, wherever you are, drop into the comments and tell us. What time is it right now for you? Because the hour doesn't matter. Power operates all the same. Whether it's dawn or dusk, someone somewhere is pulling invisible strings. And now, you're about to learn how they do it. You don't have to be born into royalty or wealth to gain power. What you do need is vision, calculation, and discipline. Not discipline in work, but discipline in perception, in silence, in timing. The battlefield has changed, but the stakes are the same. Survive or be ruled. Rise or be replaced. In a world where everyone competes for influence, at work, online, even within families, the one who understands power doesn't just survive. They control the board. There was a man who once stood on the steps of greatness, closer than anyone thought. Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister of France, had everything: wealth, charm, ambition, and a vision to climb even higher, to become the king's right hand. When the prime minister died, Fouquet saw his chance. But instead of moving quietly, he made the fatal mistake of trying to impress too loudly. He threw a celebration so grand, so opulent, that it eclipsed anything France had seen. He invited the king, displayed unmatched elegance, and showed the world his wealth and cleverness. But he forgot one rule: never outshine the master. King Louis XIV, rather than being flattered, felt threatened. The next day, Fouquet was arrested. The charges were a veil, embezzlement, mismanagement. But the truth, he had wounded the king's pride. And in that single wound, he lost everything. 20 years in solitary confinement, all because he misunderstood the nature of perception. Galileo, by contrast, understood. He too sought patronage. But instead of merely announcing his discoveries, he tailored his truth. When he discovered the moons of Jupiter, he dedicated them to the Medici family. Why? Because their family symbol was Jupiter. He tied his achievement to their legacy. He aligned truth with ego. They rewarded him with title, with protection, with prestige. He did not outshine. He flattered with precision. He made his success theirs, and in return, they made his future secure. Power is fragile. It recoils when it feels inferior. A superior wounded will strike with more fury than a rival ever could. That's the paradox. To rise, you must shine, but never brighter than those above you. Especially when those above you are dimming. Yet, there's nuance. There are moments when the one above you is crumbling, when their grip weakens. In those moments, you may slowly, subtly step into light. Not with a roar, but with a whisper of competence. You must learn when to hide and when to rise, not based on your desire, but on their condition. They must fall before you fly. It's not just about leaders. Friends, too, are dangerous. They appear loyal, familiar, but they expect. Entitlement corrodes them. When you rise, they often believe it was their doing, and when you succeed without them, they turn. History proves this not once, but always. The Emperor Michael III placed his trust in Basil, a former stable boy who saved him from a rogue horse. Moved by gratitude, the emperor elevated Basil, made him co-ruler. Basil accepted the honors, and then he killed the emperor and seized the throne. Gratitude fades, power tempts. Friends forget how they got there. Enemies, however, remember. An enemy who becomes an ally works harder. They have something to prove. Their loyalty is strategic, not emotional, and therefore more reliable. They know their position is earned, not gifted, and they guard it with vigilance. In the Song dynasty, General Taizu understood this. Instead of executing potential usurpers, he invited them to dinner and offered them retirement with honor, land, and security. No threat, no violence. And with that, he ended a cycle of betrayal that plagued the empire for centuries. Power is not about trust, it's about control. Keep friends for laughter. Work with competence, even from rivals. Yet, control doesn't come from exposure. It comes from concealment. Otto von Bismarck, a master manipulator, knew this. While others agitated for war, he preached peace. But behind the curtain, he strengthened the army, repositioned alliances, and when the moment was ripe, he struck. His deception didn't just hide his strategy, it made the victory inevitable. This is the heart of power. What people see is never what they should truly know. Distraction, smoke, theatrics. You must appear one thing while moving toward another. Say what they expect. Do what they cannot predict. Don't stay silent. That's suspicious. Speak, just about the wrong things. Talk of dreams you don't care about. Share goals you don't intend to chase. Flood them with noise and they'll miss the signal. Let your real intent travel beneath the surface, like a submarine below radar. And when you speak, speak less. Louis XIV mastered this. Few words, long silence. It forced others to guess, to interpret, to fear. People fill the silence with their own imagination, and imagination is often more dangerous than facts. When you say little, everything you say gains weight. The quiet man is assumed wise. The silent woman is assumed mysterious. Both, if consistent, are treated with caution and awe, but speak too much, and you reveal your weaknesses. Words once spoken cannot be retrieved. Even sarcasm, wielded poorly, can unravel years of respect. The more you say, the less powerful you become. Brevity isn't modesty, it's control. Coriolanus, a Roman hero, learned this the hard way. Loved for his victories, he ran for Senate. But he talked too much. Arrogance bloomed in his words. Respect curdled into resentment, banished, forgotten. All because he forgot the most vital rule of speech. Say less than necessary, and say it on your terms. Control is timing. Power is rhythm. When you speak, when you move, when you act, do so not because you feel like it. Do so because you've read the room, seen the pattern, and calculated the outcome. Anything less is noise. In the theater of power, brilliance is both a weapon and a trap. Those who shine too brightly invite the kind of attention that ruins them. It is not the fire that burns, but the eyes it draws. Invisibility, when applied with intelligence, is not cowardice. It is armor. Power, when it's too visible, becomes a target. Those who last are those who know when to dazzle and when to dim. The throne is not won by the loudest voice. It's secured by the one who speaks least, but whom all must hear when silence falls. The game is not to appear strong, but to make strength seem effortless. True mastery is in knowing how much to reveal and how much to hide behind a veil of subordination. Power hates competition. Those in positions of control, whether kings or managers, do not respond well to being reminded of their fragility. The moment you appear too clever, too capable, or too attractive, you awaken in them a fear that cannot be named, only acted upon. That fear will lead them to strike you down before you ever get close to their throne. Galileo understood this with divine clarity. He dressed his discoveries in the robes of other people's glory. When he found the moons of Jupiter, he didn't declare it as his triumph. He named them the Medicean stars, in honor of the powerful Medici family. By making their success seem to include him, he ensured that his own success was protected. In contrast, Fouquet failed to see the danger of being too magnificent. He made the king feel small. His generosity became arrogance in the king's eyes. And when the master feels outshined, he doesn't retaliate with logic. He responds with fear masked as punishment. Fouquet ended not in exile, but in a solitary stone tomb, while Galileo was welcomed at court. This is not about mediocrity. It is about the illusion of deference. Hide your talents under praise. Wear humility like silk. Let your master feel like the source of your light, even as you build your own solar system behind closed doors. And when your time comes, when the one above you falters, you must move with the grace of inevitability. Don't gloat. Don't rush. Slowly, carefully step into the light. Let others call you the natural successor. Let them whisper about your rise before you ever claim it. But beware, sometimes even the throne is a trap. To wear the crown too soon is to be the lightning rod when storms break. It is often better to rule from the shadows, through those in power, than to sit where the arrows are aimed. Power, then, is less about talent and more about placement. Even the most skilled artist will perish in a gallery that loathes his name. But a mediocre one, with the right alliances, will be immortalized. It is not merit that moves the world. It is maneuvering, which brings us to the most dangerous of illusions, the belief that friends will protect you. Friendship, when mixed with power, becomes an unpredictable force. Friends expect your loyalty. They believe they deserve more. And when they are not rewarded as they expect, they become your most bitter critics. Emperor Michael III of Byzantium trusted his friend Basil, once a mere stable boy who saved his life. Elevated, honored, and brought close to power, Basil did not repay the favor with loyalty. He repaid it with blood. He murdered the emperor and took the throne. Trust based on sentiment is sand under your feet. It will give way the moment envy, pride, or ambition enters the room. Enemies, however, are tools of precision. They are predictable. They have something to prove. They act in fear of your retaliation and are more likely to follow your expectations than a friend blinded by emotion. An enemy who becomes an ally has far more to lose by betrayal. History gives us a perfect example. During China's Song dynasty, power had always shifted through bloody coups, generals assassinating emperors and rising in their place, only to be overthrown by the next. But Taizu of Song changed the pattern. He invited his fellow generals to a feast, not to poison them, but to offer them a different path. He gave them land, titles, and honor on the condition they retire peacefully. No war, no rebellion, just wealth and stability. He disarmed them not with threats, but with comfort. And in doing so, he ended a deadly cycle and gave birth to a dynasty that lasted for centuries. Loyalty is not built on affection. It is built on self-interest managed well. When you're surrounded by allies, ask yourself, who among them believes they made you? Who among them is waiting for their due? These are the ones you must manage with distance. Keep friendship where it belongs, away from the battlefield of power. Laugh with them, yes. Share meals. But do not share your strategy. Do not share your center. If you must choose someone to empower, choose your enemy. Train them, elevate them, but always retain the leash. They will obey out of fear, out of debt, out of their need to stay in the light you now provide. But never let them near the controls. Some may argue this is cynical, but cynicism is often mistaken for clarity. It is not that people are evil, it's that power distorts. Those who were once content will become ravenous when fortune touches them, and no one can be fully trusted with your fate but yourself. That's why you must learn to disguise your true self, to master misdirection. Do not let people know what you want. Once they understand your desires, they control your fate. Instead, reveal decoys. Pretend to care about titles when you want influence. Show interest in gain when you are after legacy. Misdirection is not lying. It is defense. Bismarck didn't oppose war, but he made the public think he did. While they debated peace, he built strength, and when the battlefield was set, he struck with the silence of inevitability. He played them all, not with fire, but with fog. And fog is the ally of the strategist. In fog, the enemy swings at shadows while you walk straight to the heart of the fortress. If you want to remain untouchable, never let your true agenda be seen. Distract with ambition you don't intend to pursue. Say you want something and chase the opposite. Let people chase your words while your hands move unseen. Even your honesty must be a tool. Speak truths, but only those that mislead. Reveal flaws, but only those that are harmless. Confess a fault to hide a plan. Appear open, and no one will see the gates you've locked behind you. And when the moment calls for silence, embrace it. People fear silence. They rush to fill it. Let them reveal themselves. Every extra word they speak becomes your weapon. Let them guess what you're thinking. And in their guessing, they expose what they think, and more importantly, what they fear. This is how you rule without declaring it. This is how you take the high ground before the enemy even picks up a sword. In the next section, we'll move from silence to presence, from invisibility to influence. You will learn how your name, your appearance, and your myth can precede your arrival and conquer rooms before your feet touch the floor. In the architecture of power, allies are a facade. What holds the structure upright is not goodwill, but leverage. And leverage requires predictability. This is why enemies, not friends, become the most reliable bricks in your fortress. Friends are unpredictable because they are emotional. They feel entitled. They believe you owe them. But enemies? Enemies calculate. They watch every move. And because they expect nothing but coldness, they become dependable in their fear. The myth of loyalty is the poison that brings down kings. People confuse kindness with allegiance. But kindness breeds expectation. And when those expectations are unmet, the betrayal cuts deeper than any rivalry. That's the danger of surrounding yourself with those who love you. They stop fearing you. You must learn what the shrewd already know. Relationships are not rooted in emotion, but in mutual self-interest, and sometimes in carefully curated resentment. Michael III, Emperor of Byzantium, learned too late. He trusted Basil, a former stable hand who once saved his life. He believed in Basil's loyalty, elevated him from obscurity, gave him wealth, titles, access, and Basil took it all. Then, one night, murdered the emperor in cold blood, not out of rage, but out of design. Power had changed him. He no longer wanted to protect the throne. He wanted to sit on it. This is what loyalty becomes when left unchecked. Friends become jealous. Jealousy becomes ambition. And ambition, once fed, knows no gratitude. The irony is brutal. Michael made Basil. And that was precisely why Basil felt entitled to take his place. In your own rise, understand this. Anyone you help will one day believe your throne should be theirs. The more generous you are, the more resentment you build. Not because they hate you, but because deep down, they believe they could be you. And the longer you remain above them, the more unbearable it becomes. Now look at your enemies. They owe you nothing. They watch you with precision. They study your weaknesses, and that's what makes them usable. A former enemy turned ally knows they must tread carefully. Their past is ammunition you can always use. Their betrayal is fresh in everyone's memory. So they will overcompensate. They will over-deliver. They will try harder than any friend ever will. Because failure means exposure, and exposure means ruin. This is the logic Emperor Taizu used when ending centuries of bloodshed in China. Every emperor before him had killed off his rivals, fellow generals who might take power. But this only bred new uprisings. So Taizu did something brilliant. He invited his generals to a banquet, offered them retirement with honor, land, titles, comfort. He gave them exactly what they didn't expect: peace. And in doing so, he eliminated the threat without violence. No blood, no coup. Just contented former enemies living out their lives far from the capital. The empire stabilized. Taizu ruled for decades. Learn from this. Dominance is not always imposed. It can be engineered. You do not need to crush your enemies if you can render them toothless with comfort. But first, you must know how to identify the players around you, not by what they say, by what they don't say. Power isn't just about action, it's about observation. People betray patterns before they betray loyalties. Watch how they respond to praise. Do they deflect, or do they absorb? The ones who bask in compliments are the ones you must watch closely, because they measure their worth by others' attention, and when your spotlight moves away, they will claw it back. Watch how they act when others rise. Are they supportive, or do they offer subtle jabs, jokes with an edge, compliments with a knife hidden beneath? That's envy testing its wings. Now watch yourself. Are you elevating others because they deserve it, or because you want their gratitude? Because gratitude is a fragile thread, and it frays under pressure. Instead, trade in obligation. Do favors with strings attached. Always. Make it clear that what you offer is valuable, and that it comes at a cost. Never let people forget what you've done for them. Not by boasting, but by placing them in situations where they need to rely on you again and again. This is how you turn a potential traitor into a lifelong dependent. But if you find yourself surrounded by so-called friends who do nothing but drain you, who sulk when you succeed, who disappear when you struggle, cut them off. Not in anger, in silence. You owe them nothing. In fact, the longer you keep them close, the deeper they will sink the knife when the time comes. Let's move to the battlefield of perception. How to control others' image of you, and how to manipulate what they believe you believe. Concealing your intentions is not just a strategy, it's a way of life. Bismarck didn't walk into power. he tiptoed through the fog. When the Prussian public demanded war with Austria, he echoed their sentiment. Outwardly, he praised peace and diplomacy. Privately, he prepared his army, built alliances, chose the moment. And when Austria let its guard down, Bismarck struck. Swift, precise, decisive. The war was over before Austria even realized it had begun. That is how you strike in power, not with chaos, but with choreography. To do this, you must become unreadable. Let your actions speak one truth, while your words suggest another. Say you value simplicity while you collect complexity. Say you detest wealth while you acquire it. Say you seek peace while you train for war. In doing this, you confuse the observers. They don't know which version of you to prepare for, and so they prepare for the wrong one. There's a technique in war called the feint, a fake attack meant to draw the enemy's attention away from the real strike. You must do the same in conversation, in decisions, in alliances. Appear disinterested in what you truly desire. Act confused when you are clear. Shrug when you should burn inside. Let them believe they're ahead until you decide otherwise. Use others' expectations against them. The mind wants to connect dots. Give it the wrong ones. The best way to do this? Be interesting in the wrong direction. Share just enough to seem honest. Tell small truths to hide larger lies. Pretend your ambition lies in one place while your plans move elsewhere. People are more dangerous when they think they know you, which is why you must master the art of silence. When you speak too much, you expose yourself. When you listen more, you uncover others. The one who talks fills the space. The one who listens owns it. Coriolanus, the once heroic Roman general, was ruined not by defeat, but by his mouth. He spoke too much, bragged too often, argued too publicly. And the people, once in awe of him, turned cold. His words became swords against himself. Silence, on the other hand, is an echo chamber of power. The fewer words you use, the more weight each carries. Say nothing, and people will imagine greatness. Say too much, and they will see your flaws. Let silence make them uncomfortable. Let them fill it. And when they do, listen, not just to their words, but to what their words reveal. Their doubts, their fears, their ambitions. Silence draws out the truth like poison from a wound. So combine these tools: enemy allies, concealed desire, strategic silence, and you begin to build a persona that no one can corner, predict, or fully understand. And that is power. In the next section, we will dive into the realm of image, where perception becomes armor, and where what people think you are matters more than what you truly are. There is a reason the most powerful people often say the least. Silence, properly wielded, is not the absence of words. It is a weapon. It draws others in, exposes their intentions, and multiplies your authority without lifting a finger. While others use words to impress or defend, the strategist uses silence to control. Not because they are unsure, but because they are already ahead. King Louis XIV was no ordinary ruler. He was a master of perception, a craftsman of ambiguity. He understood that the court was not a place of truth, but of performance. And in performance, the less you reveal, the more they wonder. His sentences were brief, his intentions rarely spoken aloud. He became a puzzle that others tried to solve, and in that solving, they exposed themselves. The less you say, the more powerful your presence becomes. Silence forces others into discomfort. They speak to fill the void. They reveal more than they mean to. They try to decode your expression, your pauses, your glance. And in that confusion, you gain the upper hand. It is not what you say. It is what they believe you might say that holds power. Speak only when you intend to shape the conversation. Otherwise, let the silence expand. In that space, others will stretch themselves thin trying to fill it. The paradox of communication is this: people trust those who speak less. They assume that someone who withholds words must have more to offer. Brevity becomes wisdom. Restraint becomes status. But silence alone is not enough. It must be paired with misdirection. What people see must never align perfectly with your true aim. Let them follow the light of one flame, while you move in darkness toward another goal. You are not lying, you are leading. Misdirection is the essence of strategy. It draws attention to the wrong door while the real action happens elsewhere. In war, a general may move troops to the east to signal an attack, while his real army circles in from the west. The enemy panics, and when they finally realize the truth, it's too late. The same applies in business, in relationships, in every game of influence. Distract, confuse, overwhelm with irrelevant detail. This was Bismarck's method. He didn't hide in silence. He spoke constantly, but about things that didn't matter. He praised Austria while preparing for war. He condemned violence while arming his forces. He debated peace while signing secret alliances. And when the strike came, no one could say they weren't warned. They just hadn't been listening to the right part of the message. That's the trick. Give people what they crave: conversation, confidence, transparency, but flood them with false signals. You don't have to lie. Just lead them to lie to themselves. This tactic is most effective when combined with a visible image of harmlessness. If you seem unthreatening, people will stop watching closely. They will stop guarding their thoughts. That's when you listen. That's when you observe. And that's when you strike. Throughout history, great figures have embraced the appearance of weakness to hide their strength. Abraham Lincoln was often underestimated in his early political career. His rural background, awkward mannerisms, and understated speech led many to believe he was unsophisticated. But behind that simplicity was a mind capable of outmaneuvering the most experienced politicians of his era. People laughed at him until they lost to him. By appearing less capable, you encourage your rivals to grow complacent. They loosen their guard. They reveal too much. And when the moment comes, you expose their blind spots with devastating accuracy. Even the illusion of weakness can be powerful. When you seem too good, too polished, too calculated, people resist. They become suspicious. But when you act with slight hesitation, when you make a few harmless mistakes, when you show humility where you have confidence, they let you in. Never forget, the most dangerous player is the one who pretends not to be playing. When Galileo dedicated his discovery of Jupiter's moons to the Medici family, he wasn't making a scientific gesture. He was securing power. He wasn't declaring truth. He was aligning his image with their myth. They saw in him not just genius, but loyalty. And that perception bought him security and influence. Do not reveal your strength unless it is needed. The longer people underestimate you, the deeper you can dig your roots into their trust. Let them think you are smaller, slower, less intelligent. Let them feel superior. And when you do rise, it will seem to them not a threat, but a fulfillment of what they believed about you all along. But beware, even this must be controlled. Underestimate others too obviously, and they will detect your ploy. Use false modesty too often, and it becomes performative. The art is in subtlety. Like a magician's sleight of hand, it works best when no one notices it's happening. Now turn your attention inward. Your emotions are signals. If others can read them, they can control you. If you react in anger, in frustration, in fear, you become transparent. And transparency is vulnerability. Do not show when you are hurt. Do not show when you are elated. Control your face, your posture, your breath. Because if someone can anticipate how you feel, they can guide you like a puppet. When something enrages you, wait. When something excites you, pause. Let time filter your impulses. That space between stimulus and reaction is where power lives. Your silence must not be passive. It must be coiled with intent. Others must feel something simmering beneath it. They must wonder, and in that wondering, they will hesitate. And in hesitation, you win. Think of the poker player who says nothing, shows nothing, but keeps winning. Why does he win? Not because of luck, but because every emotion he has is locked behind a door the others cannot open. Now, combine silence and misdirection into one unified strategy. When people believe they understand you, they stop watching. So never let them understand. When they believe you want one thing, give them just enough evidence to make it true, then move toward another. Let your goals change shape. Let your words bend into fog. Let your pauses speak louder than your declarations. There is one final layer: timing. Words are not only about content, they are about moment. Even silence must end at the right time. Speak too soon, and you appear weak. Speak too late, and you seem indecisive. But speak in the exact right instant, and even a single sentence can shift the room. This is what Louis XIV understood. When he did speak, his words were recorded, analyzed, repeated across France. Because they were rare, because they carried weight. He created the myth of omnipotence not by force, but by mastery of timing. The world is saturated with noise. Everyone is shouting. Everyone wants to be heard. So don't compete for attention. Withdraw from it. Let others burn their energy trying to be seen. You, instead, become the one they seek. In the next section, you'll learn how to construct a name that speaks before you do, how to guard your reputation as if it were a kingdom, and how perception can be weaponized to repel, intimidate, and command. Before you arrive, your name precedes you. Long after you leave, your name lingers. Reputation is not a costume you put on. It is your shadow in every room. It walks into meetings before your body does. It softens enemies or provokes them. It commands respect or invites attack. And once it's tarnished, no amount of words can make it whole again. Power doesn't flow from effort alone. It flows from the image people believe about you. And that image, that construct of belief, is your greatest shield, but also your most delicate possession. To guard your name is to guard your life. To neglect it is to invite death in installments. First influence, then trust, then opportunity. During the Italian Renaissance, Cesare Borgia understood this in his bones. His armies were fierce, his strategies brutal. But what truly kept enemies at bay was the fear he cultivated. His reputation for ruthless efficiency and unforgiving dominance did more to repel attacks than any battalion. People believed he would stop at nothing, and that belief became self-fulfilling. They surrendered before the first sword was drawn. Your reputation can do battle for you, but only if it is designed with precision. The world judges based on perception, not truth, not potential, not inner character. You are who people think you are. That's why image must be shaped deliberately, not through deceit, but through framing. You decide what you are known for, and once you've chosen, you reinforce it endlessly. Begin with one defining trait, one word they associate with you. Ruthless, generous, impeccable, silent, cunning. Do not try to be everything. The more you dilute your image, the less impact it has. Instead, make yourself synonymous with one quality, and let that quality be your banner on every battlefield. Over time, this trait will become legend. People will tell others about you. They will exaggerate it. They will worship or fear it. And that's exactly what you want. Because stories spread faster than people. And stories about you will become your echo across rooms you've never entered. But beware. Every reputation invites challengers. And the stronger yours becomes, the more others will try to break it. That's why you must not only build, it must be fortified, maintained, and defended. There are 4 ways to protect your image. First, stay composed when attacked. Desperation is the enemy of dignity. If someone throws mud at your name, do not lower yourself to their level. Public rage, panicked rebuttals, emotional retaliation, these only confirm what your enemies hope to prove. Silence, calm, or even a calculated laugh will destroy their accusations more effectively than argument ever could. Never look like you're bleeding. Bleed in private. Smile in public. Second, turn defense into offense. Sometimes you must smear to protect. Spread whispers, not war. If someone challenges your reputation and you can't ignore them, undermine theirs. But subtly. Plant seeds of doubt. Make others wonder. Confuse them. And remember, rumor is more dangerous than evidence, because rumor multiplies. Third, never go too far. A reputation can collapse from overreaction. When you attack someone too aggressively, especially someone below you, you look insecure. You give the impression you're threatened. Instead, use mockery, dismissal, even humor. Nothing disarms a rival like being treated as irrelevant. Fourth, ally with prestige. If your name is damaged, attach it to someone revered. Appear in the company of the respected. Let their shine reflect on you. J.P. Morgan, when rebuilding his public image, didn't launch a press campaign. He collected art. He dined with artists and intellectuals. He rebranded himself through association. You can do the same. If your castle is cracked, move closer to another until your own walls are rebuilt. But perhaps most critical, never appear desperate to be admired. Neediness erodes respect. The more you chase applause, the less authentic your image appears. Power isn't begged for. It is exuded, and it is recognized only when it's treated as already present. You must act as if your name carries weight, even if it doesn't yet. The world is drawn to confidence, even when it's fabricated. Now, once your reputation is established, you must leverage it, and nothing draws power like attention. If no one sees you, you don't exist. Invisibility may be a defensive weapon, but it cannot build empires. Empires require spectacle, perception, fame. That is why Thomas Edison didn't simply invent. He performed. He staged demonstrations. He made bold claims. He promised thinking machines and electric miracles. Tesla, perhaps the greater mind, was quiet, reserved, unwilling to play the game. And while he died in obscurity, Edison's name became eternal. In power, visibility is oxygen. It is not enough to be competent. You must be seen as irreplaceable. And to be seen, you must master the art of attraction. Do not wait to be discovered. Do not hope for merit to rise on its own. Attention must be claimed, fought for, controlled. Here's how. First, create moments, events, gestures, claims, even controversy if necessary. As long as they talk about you, you exist. The danger lies not in criticism, but in obscurity. Second, reinvent yourself often. Change your look, your voice, your tone. The public grows bored quickly. Those who endure adapt without warning. Madonna did this. So did Bowie. Reinvention is not a loss of identity. It is proof that you cannot be caged. Third, be unpredictable. Predictability breeds contempt. If people can anticipate your next move, they will either stop watching or begin plotting. Change your rhythm. Break your pattern. Keep them on edge. Fourth, veil yourself in mystery. Tell half-truths. Answer questions with questions. Let the fog become part of your myth. Mystery provokes obsession. People can't resist what they don't fully understand. Fifth, embrace criticism. Being attacked means being noticed. If no one opposes you, you are irrelevant. Learn to use criticism as a spotlight. Redirect it. Frame it as proof that you're dangerous, bold, ahead of your time. And sixth, never be ordinary. Make your difference visible. Dress for attention. Speak for memory. Even if you're not the best, be the most memorable. The world doesn't follow greatness. It follows the unforgettable. All this feeds into your legend, but legend without structure crumbles, and structure comes when you learn to work through others. Thomas Edison again offers a painful lesson in ownership. He hired Tesla, promised reward, took the invention, then laughed, refusing to pay. Tesla, brilliant but prideful, quit. He went on to invent alternating current, arguably more important than Edison's work. But who does the world remember? The name, the brand, the image. Edison understood. It's not who works hardest. It's who claims the light. Power rewards visibility, not effort. Results, not sweat. You must master the art of getting others to do the labor, while your name collects the glory. And if you must reward them, do it only when it enhances your image. Let the world see you as generous, but remain irreplaceable. As we move into the next section, you will learn how to master this precise dance, how to make others move for you, give for you, sacrifice for you, while you stay motionless at the center of it all. In a world of noise, only one law matters: be noticed or be forgotten. Power is not merely held, it is seen. If no one sees you, you do not exist. If no one talks about you, you hold no influence. The world is filled with the competent, the qualified, the deserving, buried in silence. And then, there are those who burn like flames. Those who know that attention, not talent, governs reality. Your mission is not just to shine, it's to become the light that others orbit. Thomas Edison knew this instinctively. He didn't invent the most. He wasn't the purest scientist, but he understood attention. He staged performances, made promises larger than life, exaggerated and postured, and in doing so, claimed a space in the public imagination that no rival could dislodge. He became the flame. His rival, Nikola Tesla, may have been the greater genius, but Tesla was silent, private, lost in his mind while Edison took the stage. And in the realm of power, the stage wins. Tesla died in obscurity. Edison became a household name. You must learn this. Reality bends to perception. The loud, the flamboyant, the unforgettable, these are the ones the world rewards. Even if the crowd does not understand you, they will follow you if you dazzle them. So how do you attract attention without begging for it? You create spectacle. You make yourself impossible to ignore. You do not ask for respect. You orchestrate awe. In the early days of American show business, P.T. Barnum mastered this art. He spread fake rumors about himself, announced false retirements, circulated scandals on purpose. The public, confused, curious, obsessed, couldn't look away. He knew what modern society still hasn't fully grasped. Even bad attention is better than invisibility. But be careful. The line between spectacle and self-destruction is razor thin. What draws today can repel tomorrow. Attention must evolve. It must transform before it turns stale. That's why reinvention is not vanity. It is survival. Look at the pop icons who endure. Madonna, David Bowie, Lady Gaga. They shift personas, rebirth themselves. What they offer is not just music. It is story, character, transformation. In each new form, they awaken fresh interest. Power dies in predictability. Never become the person people expect. As soon as they understand you, change. As soon as they know your game, rewrite the rules. This doesn't mean losing your essence. It means wrapping your essence in ever-changing skin. But reinvention is not enough. You must also inject mystery into your presence. Mystery is magnetic. It pulls people towards you without explanation. Why do they dress like that? Why did they leave without saying goodbye? What do they want? These questions become hooks in the minds of others. They gnaw, they compel. And the more people wonder about you, the more they talk about you. That is attention you didn't even ask for. So don't reveal everything. Don't share your full plan. Let silence hang behind your statements. Let people imagine your depth. Even your flaws, if crafted carefully, can enhance the myth. Consider Andy Warhol. He spoke in fragmented sentences. He seemed awkward, aloof, but it was an act. His apparent social strangeness became part of the legend. People interpreted his silences as genius. His detachment became a lure. He didn't clarify. He didn't correct. He let the mystery do the work. Mystery makes the ordinary appear extraordinary. But what if you are attacked? What if your reputation is threatened? The common instinct is to defend, to explain, to beg. Resist that urge. In power, being attacked is often better than being ignored, because attacks mean you're seen. They mean you matter. Learn to transform criticism into evidence of your impact. The louder the hate, the brighter the fire. Controversy is fuel. Used correctly, it can launch you into a different stratosphere of attention. Consider the icons who leaned into outrage. Muhammad Ali, Kanye West, even political leaders like Donald Trump. They polarized, provoked, and in doing so captured a level of attention their more measured peers could only dream of. You don't have to agree with their message to understand their method, but there is a final ingredient to attention that separates the remembered from the forgotten. Scale. Small moves attract small eyes. Grand gestures draw nations. Build the habit of thinking theatrically. Don't just act, stage your acts. Let your decisions have rhythm. Let your gestures echo through the room. When you walk in, let your silhouette do the talking before you say a word. Louis XIV built the Palace of Versailles, not just as a residence, but as a symbol. Everything was exaggerated, golden, monumental. It wasn't about comfort. It was about dominance through beauty. A throne carved from sunlight. Even his daily routine became theater. Nobles watched him dress, attended his meals, and in watching, they forgot they were being controlled. He became not just a king, but a son, and everyone else, satellites. That's what spectacle does. It turns power into myth. Now, let's shift our lens inward. Are you trying to rise through work alone? Are you hoping your competence will carry you forward? That people will simply notice how effective, kind, or skilled you are? They won't. Not unless you show them. And not just show them, display it like art. This doesn't mean bragging. It means constructing moments, headlines, stories others can repeat. What are you known for? What have you done that they can retell in a sentence? He's the one who negotiated that impossible deal. She's the woman who turned a failing department into a profit center. They say he never loses in court. Give people something to say about you, something clean, compelling, repeatable. And if you don't have that yet, create it, fabricate it, or exaggerate what already exists. History is shaped not by reality, but by memory. Control the memory, and you rewrite the reality. Which brings us to the darkest truth of attention. You must be larger than life. Average is invisible. Good is forgettable. Only greatness, or the illusion of it, persists. If you're too humble, people will assume you're replaceable. If you're too normal, you vanish into the crowd. If you're too safe, no one follows you. So become the one they can't stop looking at. Be the flame, not the moth. And if that makes you a target, so be it. Targets are visible, and the visible control the narrative. In the next section, we'll move from commanding attention to commanding labor. You'll learn how the most powerful figures in history have done less and received more, by turning others into extensions of their will and always, always taking the credit. The world admires effort, but it rewards results. It praises hard work, then gives the prize to the person who stood in the spotlight, not the one sweating backstage. The cruel irony of power is this: those who do the most often get the least, while those who control the narrative, who claim the victory, walk away with everything. If you want power, you must stop worshiping effort and start mastering leverage. The true player doesn't push every stone. They move people who move stones. They don't exhaust themselves doing, they orchestrate the doing. The hands may belong to others, but the vision, the timing, and the outcome are theirs. Take Thomas Edison. He was hailed as the great inventor, the modern Prometheus, the father of electricity. But much of his work was done by others. He hired young, brilliant minds, one of them being Nikola Tesla. Edison promised Tesla $50,000 if he could improve his DC generators. Tesla did it. And Edison laughed, saying it had all been a joke. Tesla quit. And yet Edison's fame didn't falter. He went on to build an empire, using other people's genius while his name remained at the top. Is that fair? No. But power isn't fair. It's strategic, and the strategy is simple. Never do for yourself what others can do for you, especially if they're desperate for recognition. Here's why. First, burnout is a weakness. The powerful never appear tired. They seem effortless. Even when they're pulling strings behind the curtain, they do so with calm, detached efficiency. Effort, when visible, makes you look human. Exhaustion makes you look replaceable. And in the world of power, the inhuman is revered. Second, you don't have every skill. The most successful people know what they're missing, and they find those who possess it. But they don't worship them. They use them, with charm, with rewards, sometimes with lies, but always with intent. Third, greatness is often borrowed. Shakespeare stole plots. Picasso copied styles. Steve Jobs didn't invent the computer. He took existing ideas and turned them into icons. The true genius isn't the one who creates something from scratch. It's the one who recognizes gold in raw form and refines it under their own name. Fourth, giving credit isn't weakness. It's camouflage. Sometimes, letting others take partial credit secures your own dominance in the long run. Henry Kissinger, America's diplomatic mastermind, often let his president take the spotlight, while he controlled the decisions. He knew, the front man may shine, but the strategist pulls the strings. So how do you win through others? You must master the art of delegated control. It begins by identifying people who need something: recognition, validation, direction. These are your assets. Give them opportunity. Let them work. Let them shine. But guide them subtly. Nudge the wheel without touching it. Then, when the result comes, step forward and become the name attached to success. If they push back, reward them. But keep them below you. Always remind them who made the opportunity possible. But there's another layer. Use their energy to multiply yours. A general doesn't fight alone. He commands. A CEO doesn't assemble the product. She delegates. A king doesn't plow the land. He commands the harvest. Your rise depends not on how much you can do, but on how many people you can align beneath your vision. That means learning to spot talent quickly. The ones who crave recognition. The ones hungry for approval. The ones who want to prove themselves. These are the easiest to harness. Flatter them. Praise their potential. Then bind them to you with opportunity and implied reward. Let them believe they are building their future, but make sure their efforts build your empire. Now, this raises a dangerous question. Where is the line between empowerment and exploitation? The truth? There isn't one. Not in power. There is only result, and memory, and myth. Because when the dust settles, the one who told the story of what happened is the one who will be believed. This is why you must always control the narrative. Even if someone else builds the structure, you write the inscription on the door. History will forget the hands if you ensure your name is carved in stone. But sometimes, a situation requires a more delicate touch. Sometimes, giving credit publicly becomes a long-term investment. Let's say someone beneath you creates something brilliant. If you take all the credit, they may revolt. But if you give them the spotlight temporarily, let them feel seen, they will become more loyal than ever. They will associate their success with your generosity. And most importantly, they will remain dependent on your approval. This is why strategic generosity is more powerful than theft. Ego is a tool. Others' egos can serve you if you know how to play them. Here's the paradox. People are more loyal to those who let them feel powerful than to those who actually empower them. Give them the stage. Let them receive applause. But always ensure that they understand. The stage exists because of you. Think of it like a kingdom. You don't micromanage the harvest. You empower your stewards, your advisors, your soldiers. But you make sure they understand. The land is yours. The law is yours. The glory flows upward. Do not confuse activity with dominance. You can be the calm in the center of a cyclone, while others spin frantically around you. From the outside, it will look like you're doing less. But in reality, you are directing everything. And when others begin to resent your position, remind them, gently or otherwise, who holds the gate. Now, what about when you're in a lower position? How do you apply this law when you're not yet at the top? Simple. You use upward leverage. You identify a powerful figure who lacks something you possess. Skill, information, charisma, youth, strategy. You offer it quietly. You make yourself useful. And over time, you become indispensable. But you do so without ever challenging them publicly. You make your rise feel like a gift to them, like their idea. You let them take the credit for your brilliance, while behind the scenes, you become the architect of their success. This is how court advisors become rulers, how vice presidents become presidents, how shadows become kings. And when the moment comes, when they stumble, when they falter, you step forward, not as a usurper, but as the only one who ever held the whole machine together. At that point, No one questions your rise. It feels inevitable, like gravity, but only because you engineered it. Now let's pull back and look at the bigger truth. Effort without visibility is servitude. You may be the hardest worker in the room, but if no one sees it, if no one connects it to your name, you are building for someone else. Stop chasing credit, design for credit. Shape your actions so that they lead inevitably to your recognition. Even if someone else tells the story, make sure the story ends with your name. In the next section, you will learn how to use patience, silence, and bait to control not just people, but entire situations. You'll learn how to stop chasing and start attracting. Because in power, the one who moves first often loses. In the battlefield of power, the one who moves first often walks into the trap. Impulse is not strength, it is exposure. The true strategist does not run forward. They wait, they watch, they bait. And when the enemy is overextended, distracted, or exhausted, they strike with a calm hand and a silent blade. Power belongs not to the impatient, but to the poised. Tokugawa Ieyasu knew this. During Japan's civil wars in the 1600s, while other warlords fought for control in open battle, Ieyasu took a different path. His rival, Ishida Mitsunari, was loud, impassioned, and hungry for dominance. Ieyasu watched, waited. He spread rumors, planted spies, turned Ishida's allies against him one by one. And when Ishida finally moved, believing he held the upper hand, his army was already splintered, his plans already exposed. Tokugawa crushed him in a single devastating strike at the Battle of Sekigahara and established a dynasty that ruled Japan for over 250 years. This is not passivity. This is tactical stillness. To wait is not to surrender. It is to prepare. The one who waits can shape the battlefield, control the timing, decide when, where, and how the fight begins, and often, whether it needs to happen at all. If you chase, you lose. You reveal your hunger, and hunger can be fed or manipulated. So the first rule, make them come to you. How? By creating a scenario they cannot resist. It might be opportunity, a seductive offer, an irresistible opening, or even a void, a silence so loud they must fill it. You set the terms, you build the frame, and when they step inside, believing they are in control, you lock the door. This is called setting the battlefield. Sun Tzu wrote, "The clever combatant imposes his will on the enemy, but does not allow the enemy's will to be imposed on him." You don't just fight. You fight on your ground, on your terms, at your moment. Never respond in anger. Never retaliate on their schedule. Delay until they're unsure. Confuse their expectations. They want noise? Give them silence. They expect fear? Offer indifference. Each delay increases their uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds mistakes. A desperate opponent makes sloppy choices. A confused rival exposes their weaknesses. Let them swing in the dark. Let them throw their best attack against nothing. And when they are off balance, you strike. But what if they don't move? Then you bait them. You use greed, ego, or fear, whatever they are most ruled by. Every person has a pressure point, a desire they cannot resist, or a fear they will do anything to avoid. If they are greedy, dangle wealth. If they are prideful, challenge their status subtly. If they are fearful, offer protection, then withdraw it. Make them uncomfortable. Make them react. And once they react, they are no longer in control. Think of your rival as a chess piece. You do not move your queen across the board recklessly. You sacrifice pawns, shift the tempo, draw them in with harmless gestures. Every bait you place serves one purpose: to make them move. But remember, this only works if you remain unreadable. If they understand your plan, they will resist it. That's why you must become emotionally invisible. No frustration, no eagerness, no attachment. Your stillness must not feel like hesitation. It must feel like dominance. In every meeting, every conversation, every negotiation, act like you are the one deciding whether anything happens at all. This creates a gravitational pull. Others will lean in. They will try to impress you, convince you, move you, and in doing so, they tell you who they are. The one who speaks reveals. The one who listens learns. Silence is not just stillness, it is scanning. But let's go further. Once they are in motion, you control time. You determine the pace, slow it down if they're excited, speed it up if they're cautious. Time, when controlled, becomes a weapon, because most people cannot operate without rhythm. Change the rhythm, and they stumble. Imagine you're in a negotiation. Your rival expects rapid-fire responses. You pause, you stare, you check your watch, you break the pattern. Suddenly, their confidence shakes. They don't know if they've overplayed or underplayed. They start adjusting mid-sentence. They explain too much. They offer more than they should. All because you refuse to dance to their beat. Timing is often the silent killer. Strike too soon, and they block you. Strike too late, and they escape. Strike at the moment they least expect, and the damage is irreversible. But don't mistake patience for perfection. You will never have all the answers. The goal is not to wait forever, but to wait until the equation tilts in your favor. Until then, stay in position. And if they try to provoke you, do not flinch. People will prod, insult, challenge, poke at your calm, hoping to ignite reaction. Because a reaction is a crack, a leak in the armor, a glimpse of vulnerability. Do not give them that luxury. Let them scream into silence. Let them drown in their own noise. That silence becomes unbearable. They will talk more, reveal more, and in time, defeat themselves. This is why the calmest person in the room holds the most power. Because while others thrash, panic, explain, the calm person listens, watches, calculates. In your stillness, you must see what others miss. The nervous glance, the twitch of a hand, the repeated phrase. These are not quirks, they are codes. People reveal more when they think you're not responding. And that response, the strike, must come not when you're emotional, but when you're surgical. There's also an elegance to this form of power. It's not brutish, it's not messy, it's exacting. You let others exhaust themselves with guesses, with theories, with mistakes. And when the right moment comes, you move once, and the game ends. This is what allowed Napoleon to win battles before the first musket fired. His enemies moved in reaction. He moved in design, and design defeats reaction every time. But beware, waiting without strategy is drift, and drift leads nowhere. Stillness must be charged with purpose. Each silence must be loaded. Each pause must serve a goal. You are not avoiding action. You are preparing decisive action. To summarize, but not to repeat, you now understand the rhythm of control. Make them come to you. Keep your center still. Reveal nothing. Read everything. Let them move first. Let them trip the wire. And then, with clarity and precision, you strike once, and only once. In the next section, you'll see how action, when done right, obliterates the need for argument. Because sometimes, the most powerful way to convince someone is to never say a word at all. Arguments rarely change minds. They bruise egos, expose insecurities, and harden beliefs. Logic rarely wins when pride is on the line. The louder your voice, the less they listen. But actions, measured, undeniable, visible, are immune to counterattack. They bypass resistance. They leave no room for doubt. Where words provoke, action transforms. And in power, The one who proves never needs to plead. Galileo knew this intimately. In a time when science was a threat to theology, he didn't waste his energy in debate. He didn't stand on the streets shouting that the earth revolved around the sun. He built a telescope. He aimed it at the sky, and he invited powerful men to look through the lens. He didn't argue, he demonstrated. Once they saw Jupiter's moons orbiting, the old worldview shattered, not through persuasion, but through sight. That is the model. If you must change minds, don't appeal to reason. Appeal to reality. Let them see, touch, experience the proof, and then walk away. Let silence do what noise never can. The moment you argue, you engage in combat. You create opposition. You turn a passive listener into an active defender. And the more you press, the more they retreat into their stance. People do not change when you win the debate. They change when the world around them no longer supports their illusion. That's why the battlefield of ideas is often a graveyard for power. The need to be right is the fastest way to lose. Balthazar Gracian said it best. The truth is generally seen, rarely heard. Understand this law, and you never waste energy on verbal wars again. Let's take a sharper look at the psychology beneath it. When you argue, you're saying, I want to change your mind. But to someone rooted in their belief, that's an attack. Not on logic, but on identity. The moment you say, you're wrong, you're not just challenging their idea, you're questioning who they are. People defend ideas not because of facts, but because those ideas hold up their sense of self. To win in power, you must sidestep the identity. Instead of arguing, create an outcome. Let your success speak where your tongue cannot. If someone doubts your capability, don't list your achievements. Deliver a result so clean, so undeniable, that their doubt suffocates without you saying a word. And if you're challenged, don't defend. Show. They say you're not a leader? Lead a project into flawless execution. They call you naive? Make a prediction. Let it unfold, and let the silence hum afterward. They say you don't deserve your position. Elevate the entire structure until their opinion no longer matters. Words are too easy to bend, to dismiss, to twist. But when a man walks across water, no argument can reduce it to rumor. Now, let's move into a more devious version of this law, the strategic illusion of incompetence. Victor Lustig, one of the most legendary con men in history, once sold a money printing machine to a greedy buyer for $10,000. The buyer returned days later, furious that the machine didn't work. Lustig didn't argue. He acted shocked. "You must have used it wrong," he said. "Let me fix it." He offered to return the money, but only if the buyer signed a contract that nullified the complaint. In that moment, by acting confused, not defensive, Lustig kept the upper hand. The buyer left, still unsure whether he'd been scammed. The lack of a fight created doubt, and doubt is stronger than defense. This is the essence of misdirection through humility. When accused, sometimes pretending to agree, partially, weakly, regretfully, disarms the attacker faster than any rebuttal. They expect resistance. They prepare for it. When you offer none, their attack dissolves in the air. Think of the last time you tried to confront someone, and instead of arguing, they smiled and said, "Maybe you're right." The energy vanished, didn't it? Use this. When your opponent is filled with fire, don't meet it with fire. Use water. Still, clear, and cold. Let them punch the void. And yet sometimes you need to engage, but on your terms. Here are 3 tactics to win without ever seeming to fight. 1. Feign ignorance. Let them over-explain. Let them believe you're slow. The more they talk, the more they reveal. Often, they'll give you the map and the keys while thinking they're educating you. And when the time comes, you'll know exactly where to strike. 2. Overwhelm with detail. If someone is challenging you on a topic, flood them with technicality. Use precise language, obscure facts, and unnecessary jargon. Most people fear appearing ignorant. Rather than admit confusion, they'll nod and retreat. 3. Offer a fake solution. Sometimes the best move is to pretend to resolve the issue on your terms. You let them believe they've won, when in reality, you've redirected their momentum. You didn't lose the battle. You reshaped the war. But be warned, if you fall in love with silence, you may miss the moment to speak. There are rare situations where a sharp, direct response is necessary. Not to argue, but to position. When someone slanders you in front of others, sometimes the act of silence becomes permission. There, you must deflect with elegance, not rage. A single sentence can silence the room if timed with grace. Example? When asked about his rivals, Winston Churchill once said, "They are entitled to their incorrect opinions." No anger, just a scalpel wrapped in silk. This is not about cowardice. It is about winning. And winning does not always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like a smile, like a step back before a leap forward. Understand this. The louder they shout, the more you must whisper. Whispers make people lean in. Whispers make people wonder. And what they wonder becomes more persuasive than what you declare. You must also learn when to retreat entirely. Not as surrender, but as setup. Mao Zedong, in the early years of the Chinese Civil War, faced impossible odds. Rather than fight and die, he retreated. The long march looked like defeat to outsiders, but it preserved his forces. It built sympathy. It transformed his image into one of survival and resilience. Years later, he returned, not as a rebel, but as a revolutionary leader. What seemed like surrender was strategy. That is the pattern. Retreat without losing face. Disappear to return stronger. You do not always need to win the current battle. You only need to avoid losing in ways that limit your next move. This is why action is superior to argument. Because action contains no rebuttal. A man can argue against your ideas. He cannot argue against your results. And so you move, quietly, effectively. You change minds by reshaping landscapes. You build truths that make lies irrelevant. You do not scream. You succeed. In the next section, we will dive into the people who drain power without ever striking directly. The unhappy, the unlucky, the chaotic. You will learn how to identify them, and more importantly, how to escape before their infection spreads. To manipulate someone's actions, you don't need to threaten them. You only need to understand what they want. Once you know a person's true desire, you hold the strings of their decisions. Power doesn't always force. It seduces. It whispers in the ear. It offers what appears to be a gift. But inside that gift is a leash. This is the softest form of domination, and often the most effective. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Men are ruled by toys." He wasn't joking. Titles, honors, applause. These are the carrots that make people move. You can command with fear, but you can lead armies with dreams. The mistake most make is assuming others want what they want. That everyone responds to logic, security, fairness, or ambition. But people are not rational. They are wired with longings. To be seen, to matter, to win, to feel safe, to feel superior. Power speaks in the language of need. You must become fluent in it. Here's how. 1. Identify the hunger. Watch how they talk, what they bring up repeatedly, what they react to emotionally. Is it admiration, validation, financial gain, control, legacy? Each person has a center of gravity, and your job is to orbit it. 2. Feed the craving, but slowly. Give just enough to hook them, not enough to satisfy. Keep the treat in sight, but just out of reach. This keeps them moving toward you. The moment you fully deliver, the bond weakens. 3. Make them believe it was their idea. The most powerful manipulation is one that feels like autonomy. Let them feel in control while you steer. The illusion of choice is more effective than coercion. History offers a precise example. Talleyrand, the French diplomat and survivalist of empires, was a master of this art. He advised kings, served under Napoleon, and somehow outlived every regime he worked for. His secret? He told each ruler what they wanted to hear, but made them think it was their idea first. He did not argue, he echoed. He shaped opinions by gently reinforcing what the ruler already longed to believe. That is influence. That is power without confrontation. Now, understand this deeply. People will work harder for what they believe they chose. That's why direct orders can provoke resistance, while subtle nudges feel like destiny. You want someone to do something? Never command. Guide. Present options, but design the choices so only one path feels right. People hate being pushed, but they love falling if they think it's their own dive. This is called the false frame. You shape the perception of the situation. For instance, if someone wants to feel independent, give them instructions disguised as freedom. Say, you can handle this however you like, but here's what I've seen work brilliantly. They'll choose your way, and thank you for giving them power. But sometimes, you must offer a mirage of reward. Not every desire needs to be fulfilled. It only needs to feel possible. That job promotion, that affection, that breakthrough, show them the door, but keep the key. Their imagination will do the rest. Desire is addictive. If you control what people long for, you don't need to control what they do. And remember, what people want changes, so you must watch continuously. Desires shift with age, status, fatigue, failure. The once ambitious may crave peace. The once humble may hunger for recognition. Stay ahead of their transformations. Adapt your approach like a predator adjusting to new terrain. But power isn't just about managing individuals. It's about manipulating systems of dependency. Let's say someone idolizes you. That admiration is fuel, but also a risk. If they get too close, they may see your flaws. So instead of proximity, offer ritual. Create a structure of access, scheduled meetings, special language, controlled exposure. This keeps them wanting, reaching, depending, without ever letting them feel fully satisfied. The Catholic Church understood this. Confession, sacraments, ranks of clergy. Each was a layer of access, each promising divine connection, but never quite delivering it fully. The desire for salvation became a system, and that system outlasted empires. Modern brands do the same. Apple releases just enough features to keep people upgrading. Luxury designers limit supply to make you feel chosen. Subscription services remove one benefit, then sell it back. It's not just marketing. It's manipulated desire at scale. You can apply this on any level. In your job, make yourself the gatekeeper of something others need. Information, connections, approval. In your relationships, be consistent in energy, but unpredictable in reward. Give warmth, then pull it back. Not cruelly, but tactically. This tension creates longing. Longing creates loyalty. This isn't cruelty. It's understanding how humans work. We chase what flees. We want what's withheld. We love what makes us feel earned. Now turn this power inward. Understand your own desires, because what can be used on others can be used on you. If you crave validation, someone will use it. If you long for status, they'll offer it at a price. If you hunger for control, they'll give you a crown made of chains. So interrogate yourself. Ask, what can be used against me? And then, how do I make myself immune to that weapon? Power isn't just about control. It's about being uncontrollable. If no one can manipulate your desires, you become untouchable. But that kind of internal steel only comes from clarity. So write your 3 core desires, name them, face them, then learn to delay them, deny them, and if needed, destroy them. Because the one who can say no to what they want holds the leash on every battlefield. In the end, manipulation is not about cruelty, it's about structure. People want to serve something, to belong, to strive. The strategist gives them that container, that story, that purpose, and in doing so becomes the axis around which their world turns. In the next section, we enter the domain of concealment and intelligence, where your greatest weapon is not action, but what you withhold, and the secret architecture you build in the shadows. Power built in the open is easily dismantled. The strongest influence comes not from the visible throne, but from the shadow behind it. The strategist does not shout. They whisper. They do not announce their steps. They erase the footprints as they walk. Power requires disguise, and intelligence demands concealment. The most dangerous player is the one no one sees coming. Information is currency, but silence is wealth. In a world obsessed with exposure, the one who withholds becomes mysterious. In mystery lies control. When people don't know what you want, what you think, or what you plan, they cannot stop you. They cannot manipulate you. They can't even understand you. This is why you must become unreadable, not by muting yourself, but by masking your intentions. Let your words suggest simplicity. Let your face suggest peace. Let your reputation suggest harmlessness. All while you build empires behind closed doors. Julius Caesar famously wept at the statue of Alexander the Great. People assumed it was out of self-pity. What they didn't realize was that Caesar wasn't measuring himself emotionally. He was studying greatness in silence. Months later, he crossed the Rubicon and changed the shape of Rome. That's how real moves are made, under the surface, concealed, silent, patient. Begin with your daily disguise. You walk into a room. What do people assume? If you're quiet, they think you're shy. If you smile, they think you're soft. If you joke, they think you're harmless. All of these can be armor. A smile hides calculation. A joke distracts. Shyness allows you to observe while others perform. Let them think they're smarter. Let them think they've got you figured out. Every layer they peel should reveal another layer, never the core. The moment someone understands you, they reduce you. They box you in. And once you're boxed, you're controlled. This is why secrecy must be a permanent stance, not a temporary tactic. But secrecy alone is not power. You must also disrupt. Disruption isn't noise. It's targeted confusion. It's strategic unpredictability. If you become a pattern, you become prey. So break patterns constantly. Show up early one day, disappear the next. Say yes when expected to say no. Support something publicly, then act differently in private. Not because you're erratic, but because predictability breeds complacency. And complacency is the cradle of betrayal. To disrupt, you must understand timing and rhythm. Every person, every organization, every system runs on a cycle. Find that rhythm. Learn when decisions are made, when attention rises and falls, when fear spikes. Then move between the beats. Strike during holidays. Leak information on a slow news day. Resign when they think you're expanding. Praise your rivals when they expect condemnation. It's not just about what you do. It's when you do it. This makes you untouchable. Not because you're stronger, but because you're uncatchable. And while you move unpredictably, collect predictably. Gather information like a silent archivist. Watch how people behave under pressure. Catalog what they deny, what they fear, what they exaggerate. These are the levers you'll pull when the time comes. You must become a collector of weaknesses, not to use immediately, but to store, to layer your arsenal, so that when a rival rises, you already have the quiet knowledge that will bend them or break them. This is not paranoia. This is preparation. Intelligence is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters before anyone else. Now let's talk about weaponized invisibility. Sometimes, disappearing entirely is more powerful than being present. Absence makes people uncomfortable. It creates gaps in the narrative. It forces them to fill in the blanks with fear, admiration, or guilt. If you're always available, they take you for granted. If you vanish just long enough, they become anxious. Who are you meeting? What are you planning? Are you coming back stronger or never again? Let them wonder. Disappear during negotiations. Withdraw during a power struggle. Let them feel your absence like a shadow over their shoulder. This is what strategic silence does. It forces the world to feel your weight by the emptiness you leave behind. But remember, when you reappear, it must be with purpose, with presence. You must come back with something that shifts the room. Otherwise, your absence becomes irrelevance. This brings us to a deeper layer. Controlled exposure. You do not hide forever. You reveal pieces of yourself at the right time, in the right way. Think of yourself as a lighthouse, visible only when necessary, but unforgettable when seen. Reveal vulnerability when it creates intimacy. Reveal strength when they think you're weak. Reveal anger when they assume you're passive. Each reveal is a move. Each move is calculated. This technique allows you to maintain the upper hand without ever being at the top. Now let's look at false transparency. Pretend to be open. Share selective information. Let people believe they know the real you. Meanwhile, keep the real truth hidden in plain sight. This is what Steve Jobs did. He spoke of simplicity, humility, and user-friendly design. But behind the curtain, he micromanaged, intimidated, built a culture of obsessive secrecy. His public image was serenity. His private behavior was domination. Both were true, but only one was visible. This is dual-layer power. What people see shapes how they respond. What they don't see determines what you control. And in some cases, you must also feed misinformation. Let your rivals prepare for the wrong war. Leak outdated plans. Hint at goals you've already abandoned. Offer breadcrumbs that lead nowhere. They will waste resources chasing ghosts. Meanwhile, you build. But don't forget, you too are being watched. So occasionally, give them something to see. A performance, a signal, a gesture. This resets their assumptions. It reaffirms your myth. It says, I'm still here, still watching, still playing. And that reminder is often all it takes to hold your territory without a single confrontation. In the next section, the final core chapter, we reach the ultimate strategy: to abandon shape entirely, to move beyond disguise into formlessness. Because true power is not in appearing strong, but in becoming impossible to strike. The final law is the most paradoxical and the most powerful. Never take form. Because what can be seen can be struck. What can be defined can be controlled. What can be labeled can be targeted. If you want to become untouchable, you must become ungraspable. Like wind, like mist, like storm, form is limitation. It invites prediction. It makes you a shape to be surrounded, attacked, manipulated. But formlessness, it turns you into a shifting presence, a moving threat. You're no longer a player. They cannot even locate your board. Bruce Lee said it simply, be like water. Water flows around obstacles. It adapts to its container. It becomes steam. It becomes ice. It slips through fingers, carves through stone. No matter how solid your enemy, they cannot trap what refuses to hold shape. In the context of power, this means letting go of the need to be one thing. Don't cling to an identity. Don't defend a title. Don't become imprisoned by your own reputation. Even success, especially success, can become a coffin. Reinvention is survival, but formlessness is freedom. Look at nature. The river that never stops moving never stagnates. The storm that won't be predicted destroys all calculation. When you are constantly evolving, no one knows where to place their guard. They prepare for the last version of you, and you are already something else. This isn't about deception, it's about expansion. You don't abandon truth, you outgrow it. Today you are bold, tomorrow withdrawn. Today you speak with fire, tomorrow with quiet calculation. Today you are ruthless, tomorrow compassionate. People around you struggle to follow, but that's the point. They stop trying to categorize, and once they stop categorizing, they stop preparing. They react instead, and you own the rhythm. The ultimate form of power is this: to never be where they aim. You become a storm that moves across their maps too quickly to contain. Let's take a historic example: Genghis Khan. He never attacked the same way twice. His enemies thought he would strike directly. He circled. They built walls. He waited. They formed alliances. He bribed from within. He didn't just win wars. He destroyed patterns. His greatest weapon wasn't just force. It was unpredictability. That unpredictability wasn't random. It was intentional fluidity. He had no fixed capital, no permanent palace, no stable target. You couldn't assassinate what kept moving. His shape shifted with every battle, and in doing so, he became inevitable. This is what formlessness grants you: inevitability without visibility. In your own world, this begins with one decision: to never be rigid. Rigidity belongs to the weak, to the desperate, to those who need others to know who they are. They plant a flag and scream, "This is me!" And that flag becomes the first thing the wind knocks down. Let go of titles, of positions, of attachments to roles. Be CEO today, consultant tomorrow. Be teacher one moment, student the next. Power flows to those who move faster than definition. Now understand this: your enemies are watching. They're building models, psychological files. They're guessing your next move based on your last. So corrupt their data. If you're always strategic, act impulsive. If you're usually measured, act emotional. If they think you're quiet, speak loudly once, then go silent again for a month. Let no trend emerge. This chaos is not weakness, it's armor. Behind it, your true moves go unnoticed. But let's move deeper. Formlessness also means resisting possession. Most people build empires, then become prisoners of them. They work their whole lives for money, reputation, followers, only to be owned by those things. Their identity is tied to the throne, so when the throne shakes, they shake. You must build, but never attach. Build structures, then walk away. Build influence, then fade. Let go before you're forced to. Formless means you can start again from nothing, because your essence was never trapped in what you had. You are the storm, not the kingdom. The ocean, not the boat. This is resilience. This is power that cannot be stolen, because it cannot be held. In business, this means keeping your skill set wide, your alliances flexible, your projects diverse. In relationships, it means never becoming emotionally dependent on a single source of approval. Keep your center inside you, not inside anyone else. And within yourself, it means not becoming addicted to how things used to be. You must change faster than the world around you. The samurai believed that clinging to life made you vulnerable, but accepting death made you invincible. Why? Because the one who no longer fears the loss of form, of position, pride, even body, is free to move completely. This freedom is terrifying to others. They can't control you. They can't bribe you. They can't threaten to take something, because you've already let it go. This is where true dominance begins. Not in conquering others, but in being unconquerable. But make no mistake, formlessness does not mean inactivity. It means calculated action. You still strike, but your strike is always unexpected. You still build, but you're never limited by the shape of your creation. You still lead, but your leadership adjusts like wind in a canyon. Always fitting, never fixed. Think about this in social settings. Someone insults you. How do you respond? If you're rigid, you attack back. If you're formful, you defend. But if you're formless, you might laugh. You might agree. You might ignore. You might compliment them instead. They expect thunder. You offer fog. And in that fog, they lose control. This is why formlessness is feared. It doesn't mean weak. It means unreachable. Now pause. Look back across all the layers you've acquired. You've learned to appear less powerful to preserve your rise. You've mastered silence, misdirection, and strategic invisibility. You've built a reputation strong enough to act for you. You've drawn attention like fire and used others to multiply your results. You've controlled time, space, conversation. You've manipulated desires, fed illusions, and harvested information. And now, you release all of it so you cannot be touched. That is the journey. That is the storm. And it ends only when you choose. Now step back into silence. Let others wonder who you are. Let them guess what you'll do. Let them try to catch your shape. You are no longer in the game. You are the board. And the players? They just haven't realized you already won. Power, at its heart, is not about conquest. It is about awareness. The world will always try to pull you into its rhythm, to label you, box you, define you by roles, by moments, by mistakes. But you have now seen the map beneath the illusion. You've learned that those who appear strong are often brittle, that those who speak loudest rarely control the room, that the real influence lives beneath the surface, moving silently, reshaping reality without asking permission. The journey through these laws was not merely instruction, it was initiation. You've traveled from deception to dominance, from performance to presence, from obedience to orchestration. You've learned to silence ego, to withhold reaction, to act with precision instead of noise. You've studied how enemies can be allies, how friends can be threats, and how unpredictability protects more than strength. You've discovered that reputation is armor, that desire is a leash, and that sometimes the most powerful position is stillness. And now, what remains? Release. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the hunger to win every encounter. Let go of the fear that keeps you rooted in safety. Because the final truth is this: the one who no longer fears loss cannot be controlled. The one who no longer clings cannot be cornered. The one who becomes formless becomes unstoppable. Walk with silence, strike with precision, lead without asking, and vanish before they realize it was you. This world will always follow someone. Let them follow the storm.